Alrighty, geometry students, here we are. We're at the end or nearing the end of chapter 1. We're ready to review. Now, we'll have two assignments, the first of which is the chapter 1 practice test, and that's page 64, 1 through 24 all. Notice we're not just doing the odd, but the even and the odd, with the exception of 21. Please skip 21. Also, the solutions for this assignment are not in the back of the book, so they will be posted along with this assignment as a PDF. So make sure you're checking your answers. Okay, so let's take a look at number 5. On this video, I'll be doing number 5, 10, 11, 17, and 20. Number 5 reads that E, F, and G represent mile markers along a straight highway. Find EF. So the first thing to note is we want to find EF. So once we solve for X, that's where we want to plug it in, because you might solve X correctly, but if you plug it in for the wrong expression, you could still end up missing the problem. The other thing to note is that we have expressions here. And as I've tried to encourage you, that when you have expressions, you want to think equation. I need to write an equation. So what equals what else? In this case, it'd be a mistake to say that EF equals FG, because those are two different segments of different length. There's nothing that tells us that it's bisecting. But what we can see is that the two sides, EF plus EG, will equal the entire bottom. So the correct equation here would be 6x minus 4 plus 3x. Those are the two segments that they've given us, EF and FG. They equal the entire segment at E all the way to G of 5x plus 8. So that's your key starting point. Can you write the correct equation? Then it's just pure algebra from this point on. We look for our like terms. Since we have multiple x's on the left side, I have a 6x and a 3x, so my total x's are 9x. And then I'm left within the minus 4, and that equals the 5x plus 8. And now we want to get all the x's on one side, all the constants on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract my 5x from this side. And I have to do that on both sides. Good algebra skills. Cancels out the 5x, which was our goal. And so that leaves us with 4x's minus 4 equals 8 on the right side. Okay, now we can add the 4 to get the x's by themselves. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. That cancels out. And so we now have 4x equals 12. Scroll down just a bit, keep solving. Now we're going to, opposite of multiplying by 4 is dividing by 4. So let's divide both sides by 4. Cancels out, and we are left finally with our solution, x equals 3. Alrighty, so x equals 3. If this is a multiple choice test, don't pick 3 because we're not done yet. Remember, we're trying to find EF. So I need to take this and plug it in right here. So we get 6 times 3 minus 4. 18 minus 4, 14. And we look over, and that is the correct solution. There's no, it does say miles, so maybe we'll go ahead and put miles as our unit. 14 miles. Bam, phrasing. Alrighty. So again, key to study the picture, write the correct equation, solve for the variable, and then make sure you plug it back into the actual length or quantity that the problem is asking you to find. Okay, number 10, similar type of problem, except now the other thing we looked at was not just segments, lengths, but we looked at angles. And so we have angles here. This one, however, 5, they gave you the picture. Number 10, I've drawn the picture as described. That's really important. Make sure you're drawing out the pictures and not just trying to do this all in your head. Again, if you're acing everything and you're doing that, hey, praise God. But if you're struggling or you feel a little lost at times, you've got to do this key step of drawing the picture. And so the question describes, it says that TV, which we have right here, TV, I wonder if it's a flat screen, maybe it's a plasma, just kidding. So we have TV bisects RTS. So here's RTS being bisected. Notice I've put the two little red congruency lines, arcs, because it's bisects. Bisect means it cuts into 2 equal halves, so that's key. Unlike the segment from problem 5, we know that these two angles are equal to each other because they're the result of a bisector. Then it describes RTV as 16x minus 6, and then it describes VTS as 13x plus 9. Then I'm going to check what is RTV. So that's important. When we're done, it actually wants RTV. It wants this top angle. So let's make sure that's what we actually find at the end of the problem. So I've got expressions. What's my equation? I've already alluded to it. It's a bisector, so that means we have two equal halves. So that means 16x minus 6 is equal to the other angle of 13x plus 9. Alrighty, so this is more straightforward. They're equal to each other. Don't always assume that, but again, make sure you read the circumstances of the problem. Okay, we're going to get our x's together. It's algebra time. So let's subtract 13x from both sides. Again, note I do the minus 13 because I don't want a negative number. I'd rather subtract 13 from 16, then move the 16 to the other side and do 13 minus 16. It would still work out, but it's a little more of an opportunity for a mistake. So 16 minus 13 is just 3x. And then I still have my minus 6 equals my 9. Now I want to get that constant to the other side, so I'm going to add 6 because that's the opposite of subtracting 6. Do that on both sides. Should always cancel out if you're doing the right operation. So now we're left with a 3x equals 3. Okay. Well, you can allude to what it is, but we just would know for sure by dividing both sides by 3. And so that means that x is equal to 1. Alrighty, x is equal to 1. Don't pick that. We got to plug it in. If we remember, we're trying to find RTV. So this should be going in right here. So I'll do that right here. 16 times 1 minus 6. That's just simply 16 minus 6, which is just 10. Alrighty, 10. Let's go ahead. I'm looking for the problem. Did we? Okay, looks like we made a mistake somewhere. Should be getting a different answer than that. Let's see, where do we make the mistake? Bisects the two RTV and VTS. Oh, I see it. We didn't add 6. See, that's why this is good. And I'm actually going to go ahead and keep this recording of my mistake because you can see I did an algebra mistake. I added 6 to both sides right here, and this is why showing your work is so important. And instead of going 6 plus 9, I just did 6 minus 9. So that's why this is all incorrect. Instead, what I should have gotten, and this is why if I saw you make a mistake just like I did on a test, but you submitted your work, I can give you half the credit, which is a lot of points on a test. It may not seem like a lot, but it can make quite a difference. Because I can say I just added wrong. I should have 3x equals 15. 3x equals 15, 9 plus 6. And so that means our x is actually going to be 5. X is equal to 5. So a perfect example of a mistake. So now, and I checked my answer, so I was wrong, was able to look at my work and see where I went wrong, and now I can plug it back in. So let's plug in 5 this time. So 16 times 5 minus 6. Okay, 16 times 5, that is going to be 80. 80 minus 6 is 74 degrees. And that, if I check my answer, is the correct answer. So there we go. So important to show your work. Because again, I understood 95% of that problem, made a very simple, first, second grade mistake of misadding 9 and 6. And so it would be a shame to get frustrated and think I don't know what I'm doing when there's just a little error in my arithmetic. And that's why showing your work neatly is so important. Alrighty, here we go. Number 11. I'm going to go ahead and erase this line right here. Number 11, let's read it. This one could be tricky, and the key is to read it carefully and represent it so that you can see what you're supposed to do. An angle's measure is 5 degrees less than 3 times the measure of its supplement. Find the measure of the angle and its supplement. Okay, so this is one of those where the words describe expressions. Up here, they're just giving us the expression, 16x minus 6. But here, they're describing it. So the first key to this, first of all, notice the word supplement. So that means these are two angles that add up to 180. They're a linear pair or a straight angle. So that's why I've created this drawing. I don't know if it's quite the right way, but I know it's a straight line and it's supplementary. So I know they're going to add up to 180. The next key step is to just pick one of the amounts and call that plain old x. One of the angles we'll call x, and then the other angle, I can compare it based on the words in the problem. So there's one angle, who knows, it's x, but the other one is 5 degrees less than 3 times this one. 5 degrees less than 3 times. So 3 times this one would be 3 times x, and then 5 degrees less. So that means the other angle is 5, there it is, 5 degrees less than 3 times the other one. The key step, for at least for me, is picking one, just deciding, okay, that one of these is x. Now let me then relate the other one in terms of x, but how much bigger or smaller or different it is. Because now once I have this, now I'm doing a problem just like number 10 or just like number 5. I have two expressions. I need to write an equation. How do these two things relate? Well, key vocabulary, they're supplementary. So that means these two angles, I know what they add up to. They're not congruent to each other, but they add up to 180. That's right. Supplementary are two angles that add up to 180. So that means x, whoops, switch pen, x plus 3x minus 5 equals 180. And now it's just algebra time. Okay, so we got like terms there with the x and the 3x. So that is a total of 4x's minus 5 equal 180. Now we're going to add the 5 so that we can get our x's by themselves. That cancels out. And we now have 4x equals 185. We need to divide by 4. Scroll down. Cross those out. So x is equal to, and we can do that on a calculator, or go ahead and crunch that in. I'm going to check it, double check, make sure I got the right number here. 185 divided by 4 is 46.25. I could do that long division, but I'm not really worried about you practicing your long division in this class. So x is 46.25. What are they asking us to find? The measure of the angle on its supplement. So that means if x is equal to that, then that means I've found the first angle right here. So I know this angle is 46.25 degrees. And to find the other one, I just need to plug it in. So 46.25 times 3 minus 5, and I'm just doing this on a calculator, 133.75. Okay, and I know that these two amounts must be correct. One, check your answer, but two, they should add up to 180. And I can see that I could quickly check on my calculator that they do in fact add up to 180. So there we go, an angle and its supplement. One of the angles is 5 less than 3 times the other one. Okay, 17, a little more straightforward, but just wanted to do an area problem with you. Number 17, there's two things we have to do. Find the circumference and the area of the circle. So let's review circumference. Circumference is the distance around the circle, and that is found by c equals pi d. Pi times the diameter. A couple of you on the quiz, you doubled the diameter because you were thinking of it as the radius. But just remember, d is for circumference is pi times diameter. If you have the radius, double it to make it the diameter, and then multiply by pi. All right, so c equals pi times d. I can see that this 25 goes all the way across the circle, so that is in fact my diameter. So that means c is equal to 25 times pi. Now, if I'm leaving this in terms of pi, I could just, I'm done. However, the problem says round to the nearest tenth. So they want me to take 25 times 3.14. And so we're going to get, so again, I can, that's going to come out to 78.5. And do we have units? We have it. They're in feet. So this is circumference equals 78.5 feet. All right, check my answer. That is correct. So notice again, circumference is a linear distance, not feet squared. That's for area, which we'll do next. So area is how much space does this circle take up if it has a diameter of 25 feet? Well, area is equal to pi r squared. So we need the radius for this. Don't use 25 for your radius or you're going to be in trouble. You want to use, your radius is half of the diameter. So that means your radius is going to be 12.5. So pi times 12.5 or 12.5 squared is going to be my area. Remember, two things to remember here. Don't do 12.5 times 2. That's not squaring it. Also, don't do 12.5 times pi and then times, make sure you do the 12.5 times itself first. 12.5 times 12.5 is 156.25. So pi times 156.25. And then we're going to calculate that. So that times 3.14 gives us 490.6. 490.6, which is close enough because of how I rounded pi. So 490.6 feet squared is our area. Okay, so again, make sure you know the difference between your circumference and your area formulas, and also between your diameter and your radius when working with circles. And the last one that I'm going to do with you is number 20. And again, 20, I wanted to do it, involves something that I've been warning you about, and several people, quite a few people, missed this on the quiz because, again, I just think they weren't prepared and probably need to study a little bit more. Truth hurts, but yeah, you can do it if you study, prepare. And that is that it's a midpoint problem that we're finding the midpoint between 2 points. But you can see we have points M and L on here, and they were given to us from the book. It said that M is negative 5, 1, and that L is 3, 2. Or no, I'm sorry, that's not right. Negative 5, 1 and 2, 4. And if you're not careful, you're going to find the midpoint and find something right about here. That's not what the problem says. If you read it 20 carefully, it says M is the midpoint of Ln. So in other words, there is an N out here, and M is in the middle of this segment here. So that's what we are actually doing. And it gives us those coordinates, and then it says find the coordinates of our mysterious N out here. So that's really important. Several of you found the midpoint when they didn't give you endpoints. They gave you an endpoint and a midpoint, and we then need to find the other endpoint. So here's how we do it. And again, it's very simple once you've kind of understood what you're trying to do. And that is I would graph them. And there's more than one way to do this, but I'm just going to show you the graphic way because I think it's just very easy. I've plotted my 2 points, and I know that N must be the same distance. This distance between M and N is going to be the same as what I can already see between M and L. So if I count out the vertical change from L to M, I can repeat that, and I'll know exactly where N must be. So let's see. L is 1, 2, 3. 3 down, or 3 above M. So that means N must be 3 down, 1, 2, 3, from M. Also, L is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 horizontally away. So if I count over 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I can know that N must be right here at this point, right there. And I can see my segment here to here, they are in fact congruent. So making M the midpoint that the problem describes it. So now I just need to figure out what this spot is. I can see that spot is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This spot N is at negative 12, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma, negative 3. Check. Oh, check my answers. Not quite. My 3 down isn't right. So good. I get another example of checking my answer. I went down 1, 2, 3. And so here, I think I went down too far. Let's see what happened. 1, 2, 3, right. And then I should do my 7 here. So my N is incorrect. I'm going to erase this, correct my work. Let's do it again. Checking your answers. Everybody has to do it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's the correct spot. It should be right there. And so that is our point N at negative 12, negative 2. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and erase that and put it in a nicer spot right over here. Negative 12, negative 2. And again, you can do it visually like I just did that, or you can, again, if you just looked at the numbers, just how I would do it, just looking at from 4 to 1, if you subtract those, you can see I need a difference of 3. So then if you just do 1 minus 3, That's negative 2. Or from 2 to negative 5, if I subtract those, I get 7. So that means if I just subtract 7 from negative 5, I get negative 12. And so that you don't even have to graph it if you can do it that way in your head. So anyway, the endpoint is negative 12, negative 2. Highly advise you to graph these things out because you can visually see what you're doing. And if you get it wrong, like again, if I hadn't caught that mistake and I was off by 1, but the teacher could see my drawing and see, oh my gosh, they just counted the number of spots incorrectly. Easy to give you most of the points for the problem and not cause you to miss everything, which will make a big difference in your final grade for the test. Alrighty, so that is the Chapter 1 practice test, examples of midpoints, circle area and circumference, word problems and supplementary angles, angle bisectors, and segment addition. Alrighty, please reach out if you want any help. I'd be happy to give you a little boost and answer questions heading into Friday's celebration. All right.